Norway's International Climate and Forest Initiative, in short NICFI, was launched in 2008. It was managed by Norwegian Ministry of Climate and the Environment in collaboration with the Norwegian Agency of Development Cooperation, NORAD. Its aims is to reduce and reverse the loss of tropical forests which lead to the healthy environment, conserve the biodiversity, and promote sustainable growth by contributing to sustainable land use and contributing to reduce pressure of forests from global market. Among NICFI objectives are to work toward to the inclusion of emission from deforestation and forest degradation in the new international climate regime, on top of to take clearly action to achieve cost-effective and viable reduction in greenhouse gas emission. Again, it is to promote the conservation of natural forests to maintain the capacity to store carbon. NICFI's philosophy are to build a movement where building a global movement that bring together government, businesses, indigenous people, and civil society, whereby at the same time it taking a risk by providing targeted contribution to partner committed to solve the big problem. This is done by awarding countries that shows ability to reduce deforestation based on the actual result they achieve. The 7 strategies adopted are to work on 1. Land use policy. Second, the right of indigenous people by executing programs to secure land right and tenure for indigenous people in partnership with the countries. Carbon market and international support structure become the third one, where the agriculture for REDD plus transaction, which will certify high integrity emission reduction from forest countries and jurisdiction. 4. Transparency through detailing the 4 areas which is biophysical, where knowing where forest destruction occurs. The ownership, which they need to know who own the land concession, whereas on the commercial, who buys from whom, and last but not least is finance, by knowing who finance whom. The 5th strategies is the deforestation-free commodity market, whereby the 6th is deforestation-free financial market. And the last strategy is the international forest crime, whereby NORAD will support the forest country in monitoring a law enforcement efforts to address illegal forest destruction through a bilateral partnership. Indonesia effort to realize its commitment. At the same time, Norway committed a partnership with Indonesia to reduce emission from deforestation, forest degradation, and peatland conversion since May 2010. The signing of a letter of intent establishing their bilateral partnership of reducing emission from deforestation. Indonesia will be the largest rainforest nation to receive payment for reducing deforestation at the national level, whereby Norway promised to pay for Indonesian reduced emission from deforestation and forest degradation with up to $1 billion if Indonesia delivered result in terms of carbon emission reduction. Efforts made by Indonesia to reduce deforestation through conducting two moratorium, whereas the first one is the moratorium against destruction of primary forests and peatland, whereby the second one is moratorium on expansion of land for palm oil plantation. In 2016, Indonesia established Peat Restoration Agency to restore degraded peatland. They implemented a number of critical reform and action in the forest and land use sector over the last 5 years. Indonesia government banned the destroy of primary forests and peatland as new measures to protect the forests. Where in 2018, they introduced a policy to drive future increase in palm oil production with existing plantation instead of opening new forest area. A comprehensive legal review of existing forest and agricultural land and increased law enforcement effort against forest crime were initiated, giving the right to indigenous people and other local communities on their lands. In return, Norway provides Indonesia with a support effort to restore its carbon-rich peatland, the support fighting forest crime and forest fire, support in developing a green economy, support a number of civil society organizations that work to protect forests, promoting indigenous people rights in Indonesia, and support development of public-private partnership. To further strengthen the effort, Indonesia will deduct 35% of the result to account for uncertainty and to reflect its own ambitions in reducing emission. The remaining 65%, which is 11.2 million tons of carbon dioxide, of the result can be rewarded by Norway or other financiers. Since 2016 to 2017, Indonesia has reduced emission amounting to approximately 17 million tons of CO2. For the result, in year 2016 to 2017, Norway will provide result-based payment for all results available. The price in $5 per ton of CO2 of the reduced emission in total of 530 million kroner, which is 56 million USD to Indonesia. Indonesia and Norway agree to a framework of continue the collaboration beyond 2020 through an addendum to their letter of intent from 2010 to guide the partnership with even higher ambition into the Paris Agreement period. This serves as a positive effort in terms of payment of ecosystem services that can be emulated by the other third world countries, including Malaysia.